All right, everybody, what's going on? I know I just posted a video not too long ago, and I'm probably going to post another video later today with the training camp wrap-up, but I saw something from Dugar just a couple minutes ago, and it caught my attention to the point where I wanted to make a separate video to talk about it, because this isn't really a training camp thing anyway. This isn't related to the stuff that happens on the field, really. So I figure you should probably discuss it separately anyway. I don't want it to just be one of the minor topics in a roundup video, but yeah, this definitely caught my attention, not in a particularly positive way either. It's, I guess, a little more subjective, because I know some people might have a different perspective on this. It's not like the Kenny McIntosh thing, right? The Kenny McIntosh thing is just bad. Kenny McIntosh getting hurt, that just sucks. There's no way to paint that in any positive light. You can find silver linings, you can mitigate the badness of it, but it's still bad. And this, I know there are some people that have a different perspective here, and I kind of get it, but I cannot help but be a little bit frustrated when I see this. So per Dugar, and I saw this from a couple other people as well, Charles Cross, this comes straight from Cross himself, has said that his agents have not yet discussed a contract extension with Seattle. According to him, they haven't even opened up the discussion. Charles says he's just focused on being the best player he can be for the team. Charles wants to be in Seattle long term and hopes to get something done, but no talks broached yet, he says. So the positive thing here, I guess, is that Charles Cross seems to have the right attitude about this. He's focused on what's going to happen on the field. Obviously, he knows the better he does on the field, the better he's going to be able to get what he wants in a contract extension, and the more likely it is that he gets a contract extension. So that part of it is cool. And as Dugar points out in this next tweet here, Cross has 2 years left on his deal because we picked up his fifth-year option. So that does kind of remove the urgency a little bit. I understand that. He's got 2 years left on his deal. We have this year and next year. You don't have to get something done right now. It's not the same thing as when there would be 1 year left. If there was 1 year left on this deal, I would be kind of in panic mode, wondering what the heck is going on. That's not the case. So I understand that there's an alternate way to look at this stuff. But for me personally, I look at this and I have to ask why. Not why is there no contract extension in place, but why has it not even been discussed so far? I get it. It's been a busy offseason. The Seahawks have been busy. John Schneider has been busy. But this should be, I think, one of your top priorities. Getting your very young franchise left tackle who had something of a breakout season last year paid. The earlier, the better. And while I do feel like this team has, generally speaking, the right approach on how they're going about building the team, it's things like this that just make me go, I don't feel like this is what good teams or, well, okay, maybe not good teams, but great teams do. I don't think a team like the Eagles would do things like this. I don't think a lot of these teams that we associate with being some of the best in the league do. And the reason why I say that is because this is a very high value position. This is a young player who hasn't even really come close to his prime yet. This is a player who didn't even have all of his muscle yet. Cross has said this offseason he's added like 10, 15 pounds of muscle this offseason. And that's not really a surprise to me because he's still young. Last year he was, 23 years old? You wouldn't have all your muscle when you're 23 years old. And now he's going to be 24 this year. That's kind of the year where you get your final push towards being physically the player that you're going to be your whole career. So I look at something like that. I look at his play last year, which I think was very good. Maybe it wasn't stellar, but I do think he had a very good year last year. And I look at the circumstances that he was in, where he was in that Ryan Grubb offense that did nothing to help him out with how pass happy they were. And I cannot help but think to myself, this is the ideal situation to get an extension on the books now. And it's one thing to not have one, but when I hear they haven't even discussed it yet, I have to wonder if it's even a priority to them. And if it's not, then I got to ask, well, why? Why would you not be trying to get on top of this? This team went years and years and years without blue chip offensive linemen, to the frustration of many people, myself included. You finally get one. You spend a top 10 pick on one. He comes in here. He's on a good career arc. The only thing that really derailed him a little bit was getting hurt his second year. But he came back. He fought through it. He played respectably well. Last year, he had a mini breakout. I know there are some numbers that say he wasn't the greatest player in the world. I understand that. I think Ryan Grubb had a lot to do with that. I think if you look at the efficiency metrics, he was actually very good. And there's every reason to believe that 2025 will be that second breakout. And I'm going to point to it again. I've talked about this before. This is a market that goes crazy because the position is so valuable. That left tackle spot is off the chain valuable. Everybody knows it. So not only are the contracts very big right now, but they're only going to get bigger. Right now, the top of the market is Tristan Wirfs, the Tampa Bay left tackle. He's making a little over $28 million per year on a long-term extension, and that was from last year, to be clear. Most of these bigger extensions are from last year or 2 years ago. You've got the Trent Williams one now. I'm not really going to look at the Trent Williams one too much. He's 36 years old when he got this, so that's not a equivalency. Trent Williams gets this by being incredibly good at football, not by what he could be down the line. A guy like Christian Darrisaw, though. Christian Darrisaw, $26 million a year. He got this last year. And you think about Charles Cross, he's probably not at the Tristan Wirfs level. Wirfs is kind of, I think he's kind of really put himself in a league of his own with his play and his youth and the potential to get, and all these things kind of came together for him to get the 28.1 million per year. But guys like Christian Darrisaw, you got to a certain extent Laramie Tunzel. You go back a couple years, a guy like Andrew Thomas when he got his extension. Like that's about where you are right now. That's about where things sit at the moment. Something around that 24 to $26 million a year range on an extension. But that's going to slip away from you real quick. There are going to be other left tackles that get paid big money. I mean, if you want to just talk about this most recent offseason, Jake Matthews, who is 33 years old, and he's not Trent Williams, he got $22.5 million a year. Dan Moore, who arguably is not even that good, he was the other big left tackle signing in 2025. He got $20.5 million a year, and I last year I think he allowed 12 sacks or something. Most of the numbers were a lot worse than anything Cross has done in the last couple of years, especially last year. People say, oh, he gave up a really high number of pressures. Dan Moore was giving up sacks like it was nobody's business in Pittsburgh for a year or two there before he still got the 20 mil plus a year. Eventually, you're going to have somebody come up that isn't Charles Cross, that is considered to be really, really good and really, really promising, and his youth on top of it is going to push him to maybe 30. And again, I've said this before, but it bears repeating. You have leverage right now. Charles Cross has 2 years left on his deal. He'd love to get an extension down so he can lock up that big long-term money. He's making good money over the next couple years, but there is definitely an amount that he would be very excited to get locked up on a long-term contract. And it's going to be less than it's going to be next year, and it's going to be a lot less than it's going to be in 2 years. Because, I mean, if you want to point to stuff that just happened, Zach Tom, who is a right tackle, a much less valuable position, he got, $22 million a year? So if you look at him as just a tackle, that's pushing the market up too. Like, it's not necessarily Cross's market, but it's adjacent to Cross's market. $22 million to a guy like Zach Tom, who does not have the physical gifts or talent of a Charles Cross. He doesn't have the pedigree of a Charles Cross. He does have some things that Cross doesn't have, but a guy like a Zach Tom getting 22 is not helping the negotiations with Charles Cross. Like right now, you might be able to get a Charles Cross extension down for like 25 million a year. But if you wait even a few months from now, that could be somebody else may have been extended. I don't know exactly who. Something could have happened with another player, and it could turn into 28. And then you wait until next year, it could be 30. And then if you wait for the year after that, it could be 34. This thing will balloon like crazy, especially if he plays well. And this year, he's going to be in more of a run-happy offense that will do a much better job protecting the tackles from having to run block all the time, which means it's probably going to look a lot better. He's probably going to allow fewer pressures because opposing offenses aren't going to be able to get easy reads on when they can just pin their ears back. So everything points to Charles Cross becoming one of the elite left tackles in the next year or two in this league. I'd like to get him paid before that kicks in. Arguably, he's on the cusp as it is with the way he played last year, I think. I look at the way he played last year, and in a pretty rough circumstance, I think he played great. I don't need him to start playing like he's one of the best in the league without being on that extension. Even if the extension ends up being the Darisaw extension, if it's like 26 million a year, that's certainly a lot less than you're going to have to pay him in a year, or God forbid, 2 years. So I'd be very interested to know why they haven't discussed it yet. I understand there are 2 years left on the deal, but man, this is something to get on top of, in my opinion. Do not mess around with a guy like Charles Cross at a position like left tackle. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think.